So we are catching up, guys. We are catching up. This is something that we covered yesterday. Honestly, if you guys haven't seen this video, I'll link it in the comments below. The most even-handed take on the Asmongold situation. We watched the entire thing, his statement and all that. The original one, and the entire subject that he was covering about Palestine, Israel, and all of that. And we wanted to go into it in depth because as a little summary, I am Muslim. I'm brown. I have friends and family all over the world, including in Pakistan, which is my home country, and I have some friends and family in Israel and Palestine. We have them all over, and so I have a very personal stake in what happens in the area. So I had the very, very wild take that genocide on both sides is bad, and I got a lot of hate for that. Got a shocking amount of hate, a lot of support for this, but a lot of hate for this as well. I had my DMs and out of my DMs and everything like that as well. So that's been wild, but that is all right. I can take it. But what I wanted to cover is the update since this video. So this video went up exactly about 1 day ago. And in the meantime, during when I was doing like all the hurricane cleanup and everything like yesterday, because I'm in Florida, we missed some major things that happened in the situation to update it today. Namely, he got banned. Asmongold got banned. First of all, it is not a permanent ban. It is a temporary ban. Second of all, I actually didn't want him to get banned. I think he, in some ways, deserved the ban because it is considered like a form of hate speech and so on and so forth. Even though I think he was just misguided, really, and I'll explain why. I explained why in the previous video, but I'll explain why in this video as well. But also. Guys, why are we acting like this is some kind of thing that no one says? This is something that literally people say on actual media all the time. Like, how long ago was it that, freaking Trump was saying countries? Like, that was not that long ago. How long ago was it that Bill Maher, who has a national TV show on, I think it's HBO, right? I think it's I don't watch that piece, but yeah, he's Islamophobic on like every single episode of his show. He regularly talks about like straight up hard Islamophobia, things that would get him straight up banned on Twitch every single day of the week. But this guy does it on national television. Guys, it's not wild for people to say this shit anymore. And it never has been. Not since 2001. So regardless, I mean, what Asmongold said was reprehensible, but he did apologize. And I think that I like to shine a light on the dark corners. So personally, I would have been okay with him not being banned. Maybe that's a wild take. I would have been okay with it. Hassan literally was talking to a terrorist a couple months ago on his own stream. And like, lavishing praise on him, giggling about anime. Not even joking, it was right there. And that didn't get Hassan banned. So it's very uneven. It's very uneven. However, regardless, Asmongold has been banned for 14 days, so let's dive into the information. I had to give a little diatribe before it even started. Twitch streamer Asmongold suspended after Palestinian rant. Popular streamer Zach Hoyt, that is last name. I actually never knew his last name. Zach Hoyt, better known as Asmongold, better known as Baldy, has been suspended from Twitch after saying in a video Palestinians come from an inferior culture. Asmongold, who has over 5 million followers, over 2 Twitch channels, has apologized in a post on X, writing, "I'll do better." We read that post yesterday. I can happily bring it up as well and link that in the comments below so you guys can check it out yourself, but we did cover it in the previous video. Twitch said in a statement, "We take enforcement action when there are violations of our community guidelines, including our hateful conduct policy and other rules. I really wish this was an even policy that was even-handed, that they would often do things for. They don't, but they did here. Representatives for Asmongold have been contacted for comment. In clips widely circulated online, yeah, this was everywhere, Asmongold made comments suggesting he was not sympathetic to Palestinians who had been killed in the Israel-Gaza war. This is true. This is what he said. He basically said what amounts to, it's over there. I don't like the people over there, essentially. I think they're from it. He said the words inferior culture, and I'm not going to shed a tear if they die. Those were his exact words. It's pretty bad. It's definitely something that I think is pretty bad. And, you know, I'm Muslim. I know people in that part of the world. I know people on both sides in the part of the world. And I think, you know, both sides are having an existential threat almost from each other, with targeting of innocents by the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds on both sides. I consider that a genocide on both sides. I think it's bad on both sides. And on Twitter these days, that is a wild take. It is not enough that I condemn, you know, one side for it. I'm supposed to only condemn one side of it, I guess. But no, I condemn both sides. Hamas is absolutely in the wrong. So is Israel. Both of them are in the wrong. It's not that hard to say. I don't know why people pussyfoot around saying that there is a share of the blame on both sides. Now, that's not what Asmongold said either, but that is absolutely what I'm saying. On Monday, the UN condemned the large number of civilian casualties caused by Israeli strikes. Oh, there's some actual info in here. This is why we're looking at the BBC, guys. 42,000 Palestinians have been killed in the war since just the 7th of October. That is literally only 1 year, and it's 42,000 Palestinians. 42,000. The framing of this is rough, man. Look, Asmongold didn't even know the number, okay? First of all. And I know this because during the day, I know for a fact, because I had friends that told me about it, Asmongold was in a 3-hour conversation with Hassan. And I'm not a big fan of Hassan Abi. Definitely. I think he says a lot of shit that I really don't agree with. A lot of stuff that I'm like, oh my god, dude, what are you talking about? What are you doing? But that is apparently, and I watched bits and pieces, little clips that my friend sent me, and it looks like Hassan was actually his best self in this conversation in that 3 hours, talking with Asmongold, essentially giving him the context of why he was wrong. Asmongold, why Asmongold should care about the fact that civilians are dying, and essentially doing what the media didn't. So what Asmongold did was dehumanize the innocents dying in Gaza. Okay, that's basically what happened, and it's something that the media does on the regular and has conditioned everyone to do in the Western world since 2001. And I know this because I've been dehumanized. I've had slurs yelled at them. I've been, called sand, what. I've been attacked verbally and physically. I've had the entire gamut happen to me. I've been told to go back to Africa because someone didn't even know where Pakistan was on the map. They told me to go back to Africa. Hilarious, except for the fact that it was, they were trying to say, it's nice. They were trying to say that in a really, really bad way. But like the fact that they were so idiotic when they said it, it was kind of funny. They didn't mean it in a funny way though. So I have been, caught up in this entire situation of the very regular dehumanization that has been happening for literally 23 years. Looking down at my clock, 23 years. 23 years. 23 years of dehumanizing it. Literally, at this point, 1.9 billion people around the world. There are 1.9 billion Muslims around the world. And we've been dehumanized for literally 23 years. How are we surprised that this has happened? How are we surprised that Asmongold, not Asmongold specifically, but how are we surprised that someone who's a prominent streamer also dehumanized Muslims and dehumanized the people, did not understand their plight, did not understand the situation, and as a result said something very stupid that got him into hot water? It shouldn't be surprising. It should be surprising. Like, I didn't expect Asmongold to say it, but it's really not that shocking that someone would. People have been doing this on the regular. Destiny used to say shit like this all the time. And Destiny has been banned via various platforms, but it wasn't for Islamophobia. He's been dehumanizing Islam and Muslims since like the very get go, dude. I know because I've been arguing with him on Twitter since for 3 fucking years, literally all the time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah. Don't dehumanize people for their religion. Dehumanize them because they play League of Legends. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, anyone who plays League of Legends is barely a human being. And look at that. I have League of Legends downloaded. There we go. There we go. But no, for serious though, it is basically what Asmongold did was he was parroting what had been fed to him by the media and by social media, because it's regular to say stuff like this on social media all the time without repercussions of any way, shape, or form. And so he'd been parroting that, and that was the entire situation, the dehumanization. And going back to my original point, Hassan having a 3-hour conversation to humanize the victims and the innocents being killed in Palestine actually changed Asmongold's mind a little bit. By the end of the conversation, you could see it. If you don't believe me, trust me. Watch his tone at the beginning, watch it at the end. You don't even have to watch the whole thing. Just watch the first 10 minutes of the entire conversation with Hassan and watch the last 10 minutes. And you can even just spend just 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you'll be able to see the difference right there. And that's also why I don't like bans in this type of situation. A one-on-one discussion between two human beings, and I talked about this yesterday in my original video, is always so much more enlightening for both parties, and understanding can be created, discussions can be created, bridges can be built. But not when there's a ban. When there's a ban, there's no chance to talk to someone. And a lot of times that can radicalize someone as well, even worse. It's happened before, it'll happen again. You see that exact example with Dr. Disrespect. When he was banned, when all the information came out about, his lawsuit and what he did, who he spoke to, how he was inappropriate with a minor, so on and so forth. When all of that really came out and he lost every single sponsorship, he only dove deep to become more of an alt-right drifter. And you can see it in his verbiage. You can see it in his now strongly anti-LGBTQ stance and so on and so forth. That's exactly what happened to him. And he leans into it now. If you watch his now, you'll be like, wow, okay. Yeah, I know, Ryan. But yeah, that's what happens now. And this is why I don't like bans a lot of times. Certain things should be banned. And I can see why Twitch banned him. I'm not blaming Twitch for banning it, for blaming Asmongold. I'm not blaming Twitch for banning Asmongold. I get it. It's not what I would have done personally, but I understand it. I don't think it was a false ban. I don't think it was an overblown ban. I just wish they were a little bit more even and doing it, on the regular when people regularly do this, because this happens on this website and in, world media and stuff all the time as well. I wish it was universally dealt with in such a way, if anything, but it's not. But the other problem is that Asmongold, people were wondering why Asmongold's tone is changed with the apology and everything like that. You guys also have to remember, we'll cover this, but Tips Out also released a statement. We'll read this right after we finish the BBC article. But Tips Out is one of the other leaders of OTK. He's one of the founding members of OTK, along with Asmongold. OTK is One True King. That is Asmongold and Tips Out and S-Fan and a few other people. That's their big company that they created from the ground up as a streamer organization. Tips Out is one of the biggest people in OTK. He's also a Muslim and he's also an immigrant. So the chances that Tips Out did not talk to Asmongold in the last 24 hours are snowflakes in hell. And the reason I can tell this is because of this situation, this statement. We have not read the statement yet. We will read it in just a couple minutes. But I just want to give some context. Anyways, finally says, going back to the statement, the original statement, of course, no one deserves to have their life destroyed, even if they do things or have views I find regressive. I don't mind apologizing if it's something I'm actually wrong about. They actually missed some context. He says this when someone called him out that, you know, is a firm believer that Asmongold should not apologize for saying these types of things because they share those kinds of views, and that shows why having these kinds of views so openly in such a large platform is so fucking harmful. But he actually responded very clearly to them, saying, I'm apologizing because I'm wrong here, and I don't mind apologizing when I'm wrong. And if I'm not wrong, I don't apologize, you can see, because I've not apologized for all the other crazy shit that people have tried to cancel me, as in him, for. Anyways, going back to the article, rules broken, Twitch community guidelines state the streaming platform does not allow behavior that promotes or encourages discrimination. Wild, because if you look at my DMs, I have like 800 people that have called me slurs. But okay. It also bans streamers from making content which expresses inferiority based on a protected characteristic. Now, this is probably what actually got him here. Like, I didn't know about this part of the TOS. But if this is like actual version of the TOS, then there we go. I wish they would enforce and apply that evenly. That is not what happens. Asmongold has faced backlash from his fellow Twitch streamers with Brooke AB, who's 1.3 million, calling his comments straight up racism. Now, I can understand people calling the comment racism because it is a form of racism. However, I think it's really important to know that when you are... Let's just go to the comment section here. Let's check the hot quote retweets. The good old quote retweets. Can we do the quote retweets? How can I do this? Oh, I think I need to go to the original post. Hold up. So let's see the quote retweets and how wild they get. View quotes. There are people that are literally dancing on the grave in terms of, you know, for a streamer with the ban. Casey Tron is one of them. This person doesn't give a shit about Israel or Palestine. This person hates the actual person Asmongold and literally just does anything she can to dance on someone's grave when she's arguing with them. She has not done it just to Asmongold. She's done this to Asmongold several times, but she does this on the regular to like all kinds of people. And you'll see this often in this entire situation. And what you'll also see is completely, utterly unhinged people wishing, in this case, Asmongold to die. You'll see in his original... Let's go to Asmongold's profile so we can look at his actual apology. Asmongold. Because this is also fucked up. And this is why I am covering this, because I hate pile-ons. And I hate it that it's the whitest fucking people a lot of times doing things like calling Asmongold Hitler. Let's be real. Asmongold is not Hitler. If you think Asmongold is Hitler for this statement, then you think Bill Maher, who is a literal Jew, is also Hitler. Only Hitler is Hitler. I said this yesterday, and I will double down and say it again. Stop calling people Hitler when they're not Hitler. Holy Christ, it is not that hard. Oh my God, dude. Like if you lose the power of words and you start to apply a noun or a yeah, exactly. If you start to imply a set of words for everyone based on just not liking them, that word loses power. It's like the boy who cried wolf. That's exactly what happens. And I absolutely hate it when that shit happens. It is absolutely insane. It is absolutely insane. And then you'll like go down and you'll see like pictures of like animes where people are getting pissed on and so on and so forth. You'll see basically wishing death on Asmongold, all kinds of shit like that. This is not helpful, man. I'm a Muslim. I didn't ask for this shit. Don't do this shit. Don't do it in my name. And again, it's like the... Hold on, we can find a prime example. I made a little comment about it when I tried to make my own. I always post my videos up and so on and so forth. Here, let's go to my profile. Bam. Let's go to my profile, and yeah, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. This guy is another example of someone who's completely unhinged. So I gave an even-handed take, and you can see the take. I've described a bunch of the take already here. But you'll find someone like here, calling me as a Muslim, sharing my even-handed take that I think genocide is bad on both hands. I'm parasitic for saying that. That if I don't want, Asmongold to be, immediately lambasted in the most heinous of terms, thrown in jail, God forbid, like killed or whatever. Like, if I don't say something like that, this completely white motherfucker, it thinks I'm a parasite. And I'm actually a Muslim. And I'm very calm in this. Like, I'm actually explaining, giving him the courtesy he doesn't deserve, because he's been calling me a parasite from the beginning, that, like, I'm actually giving context and so on. And he just doubles down and doubles down and doubles down even more. He just goes harder and harder and harder. And just, like, absolutely goes fucking insane. And this is the people that we're dealing with here. And I think that in this type of situation, when you ban someone and you put it into the darkness as opposed to dealing with it in the light, it opens someone up to a lot of hate as well. And as a Muslim, I don't want Asmongold to get that hate. Don't put that shit on me. Don't try to say you're defending Palestine when you're trying to say that Asmongold should die. That is not how this works. You're not doing that. You're just being a hateful piece of shit human being, which is exactly what he's being accused of and what his statements were. But he apologized for them. And these people that are saying this shit never will. They'll actually feel righteous doing it. Guess who else felt righteous? Spewing hatred. Every other fucking racist, every other fucking bigot in the world. They all feel righteous. Hate is hate. Just don't fucking do it on any grounds. Like, I don't know why this is hard to say. Yeah, exactly. Meganor, you brought up a good point. If you're not with them, you're against them. No room to have a conversation anymore. Yeah, remember the last person who said, if you're not with me, you're against me? That was George Bush. Before we invaded Iraq. I mean, the axis of evil and all that. That was the exact same phrase. The exact same phrase. Exactly. And that turned out really well. No, it turned out fucking horribly in many different ways. Exactly. There you go. And so, here we go. So more context. So Brooke AB, I don't give a fuck. It's just, and also, a lot of these people that are saying this are completely performative. They don't even know what's going on in Israel or Palestine. They don't even know anyone in Israel or Palestine, and they're not Muslims. 99% of the people commenting on this are like drowning out actual Muslim voices. And I'm pretty sure from my short look at Twitter, because I avoid that site like the plague sometimes, in the past 24 hours when I'm dealing with hurricane cleanup, I'm not going to like look at Twitter all the live long day. Sometimes I will. I've been dealing with some people. But like, I'm not going to generally, spend all day peruse it like I'm fucking a shut-in who's never touched grass. No, I got more important shit to do. Regardless, though, if you look at the Muslims on Twitter, some of them are, taking it really personally, and they're saying that he deserves to be banned, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But very few of them are saying that Asmongold should die. Very few of them are saying like the heinous shit that the whitest people are saying. Why is that? Why is that? It's because we see the dehumanization that have happened to us, and we don't want that. En masse, Muslims do not want that to happen to someone like Asmongold. We don't want that to happen to anyone. And that just shows you how wrong Asmongold was. And I don't know if he's seen that, but I think if he does see that, and if someone points that out to him, that might be the biggest lesson to him of why he shouldn't have dehumanized the Palestinian people and why he was so wrong. And that would be the most illustrative thing of all. Educating someone through openness and love. Not hand-waving what happened, but also not wishing freaking death upon him. And saying like, I saw a very prominent, someone much bigger than I am, some Muslim content creator, I didn't remember the name, like 100,000 followers or whatever on Twitter or something, saying like, basically it was one of the quote retweets. It was all the way down, but it was buried, and it was like, I don't condone what you said. I really hate what you said. You definitely deserve the Twitch ban, but people are wishing death upon you, and I hope I hope you are safe in these days and you learn that we, are respectful people, we care about others, and we generally don't want anyone to die of anything. And that includes you. That was like the gist of it. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's very poignant. And because that voice was drowned out, I doubt Asmongold will ever see it. And it's drowned out by the most hateful fucking people on Twitter that are acting righteous and saying the worst stuff possible. I think that's a travesty. I think that is an incredible travesty. Because this is how you turn people worse. This is how you shut down conversations. And this is how you create even more hate through what you think is self-righteousness. So if you're watching this and you've made such comments, please know I don't condemn you. I don't think you're a terrible person unless you've proven yourself to be a terrible person. Like you're, saying worse and worse shit, doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down, then you have an issue. But if you said something and then you're looking at this this verbiage that I'm telling you, and you're like, maybe he has a point, then I only applaud you. You're learning. Please take this as an educational opportunity, because I think that really this is an opportunity for good. I hope Asmongold is able to take, and also I found a lot of people saying like, oh, Asmongold is going to take his 14-day suspension and just stream on his Asmongold channel as opposed to his Zach Rohr channel, which is the one that is his main channel now, and this is one he got banned on. I don't think he's going to do that. He's never shown himself to be like, trying to sidle by punishments or anything like that. And I think if he did that, it would be a massive mistake. I think he should take the ban, and I think he should learn from it. That's what I really, really hope. But I think the people that wished the ban on him and wished worse on him should take this opportunity of 14 days and kind of just like figure out, what do they actually believe in? Do they believe in stopping violence, or do they believe in creating more hate? Because right now, they're only creating more hate. And I hate it when people try to do that in my name. They don't know me. They haven't earned the right to do so. They don't understand me. And they're only making shit worse. None of us Muslims are helped when you wish someone to die. Just stop doing it. Going back to the actual statement, though. Hassan Piker, streams on Hassan Abi, spoke to Asmongold on a stream before the ban. So this is the part I'm talking about. But he did not back down from his original comments. That's not true. He did actually start to really humanize the Palestinian people quite a bit. And there was one poignant moment when Hassan actually, and this was one of the clips I got, it was like a 5-minute chunk, and it was a very good one. And Hassan makes an analogy with like some church group in Kansas or something, some like West Virginia, Kansas, whatever, and super ultra conservative, also believes like women don't have choices and so on, very aggressive stuff, homophobia, transphobia like crazy, blah blah blah, very aggressive stuff. And would they deserve something bad happening to them? And it took that analogy for Asmongold to be like, to really make a real turning point. If you want to find that portion, guys, in the entire like 3-hour interview, that's when you'll see what I'm talking about. That's when you'll see some actual sorrow on Asmongold's part, some actual regret, some actual understanding, education, and finally some humanizing of who he was dehumanizing in the first place. That was a big turning point. And I don't applaud almost anything else that Hassan says or does. I don't like him. I don't think he's useful in many conversations, but this was him at his best. Easily. And I can say that beyond a shadow of a doubt. Asmongold was streaming on Zach Rohr channel. Yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah, I already talked about that. But yeah, he's, okay, going on. Let's now read the tips out discussion, because I have no doubt in my mind that Tips is someone that spoke to Asmongold after this entire situation as well. Because Tips Out is, like I said, a Muslim and an immigrant, and he is also one of Asmongold's friends, pretty close one. They created OTK together, and he is also a content creator, streamer, and so on and so forth. Basically, like the perspective I can give, he can give tenfold. much more than I can. Like, I'm a nobody. Tips Out is one of the closest people to Asmongold. So if anyone could talk some sense into him beyond, like, this entire situation with Hassan, it's Tips Out. So let's read Tips Out's statement. I'm going to read it in full. The below are my personal thoughts and do not reflect my employer or any company or person I'm affiliated with. Hello, everyone. As you may be aware, some comments were made by Zach yesterday about Palestinians and Muslims. Before I address those comments, I'd like to take the opportunity to share some details about my background in hopes that those reading this post may better understand who I am, where I come from, and what those comments mean to me. I was wrong. He's not an immigrant. His family's immigrants. My bad. He's not an immigrant. He was born in the U.S. My mistake. 34 years ago, I was fortunate enough to be born in the United States of America, blessed by a blessing and a lottery ticket that I thank God for every day. I share that sentiment. My parents were born in Pakistan. They lived most of their life in Pakistan until they moved to America to provide better opportunities for their burgeoning family. They were married by then. They decided to come here for their graduate schools, both of them, and that's where they had me. And I was born here in Florida. And I agree. If I was born in Pakistan, my life would be incredibly much worse in pretty much every single way, shape, and form. And I'm extremely lucky to have been born here. Absolutely. Completely with tips on this. 100%. Lottery ticket for sure. My parents, Syrian immigrants from Damascus, came to the U.S. in the 70s and 80s at a time when the likes of Hafez and Rafat al-Assad were massacring tens of thousands of their own people in Hama. Yeah. Massacres like this happen every day in these parts of the world. Pakistan, we've had 5 wars with India where, thousands are dying on both sides uselessly. We have had an absolute boatload of, despots taking over, all kinds of military coups, all kinds of rebellions, this, that, and whatever, where, of course, always lots and lots of people die because life over there is cheap. It's horrible. The sole reason I exist today can be attributed to the words of one of my father's neighbors who informed my late grandmother that my father's friends had been just arrested for political dissent, and the Mukhabarat were coming for him next. It's basically, I think, what amounts to like the secret police back there, like the CIA, FBI, that kind of thing. But in that part of the world, in Syria. Quick on her feet, my grandmother, God Almighty grant mercy on her soul, grabbed my 22-year-old father and with tears in her eyes, shaved off his beard and sent him to Jordan, which was at the time a much more liberalized country, very much safer, very much, less civil unrest. They have a strong king. I don't know if it was King Abdullah at the time, but a very beloved guy, and not much not much terrorist issues, not much this, not much that, not much political unrest, and much more a relatively safe area to be. I'm just giving you guys my context, knowing that part of the world. I don't know exactly when this was, so I can only guess who was, the leader at the time. Tears in her eyes. Yeah. Hoping he would make it out. With the help of a few friends, and at a time when many thought Syria was a weedy breakfast consumed with milk, my dad was one of the few Syrians lucky enough to be granted passage to America. To that we say Alhamdulillah, which, parentheses, he's correct. That means thank God. At some point in the mid-'80s, my father, then working as an engineer in L.A., it's funny, my dad's an engineer. Yeah, dad was an engineer in Florida. Serendipitously reunited with one of his childhood neighbors and schoolmates in Chicago and Illinois. This man would become my uncle, as his sister, my mother, would marry my father soon after. In typical immigrant fashion, they wasted no time, and my siblings and I were born. That's how we do it back home, boys. That's how we do it. We waste no time pumping out those kids. Growing up in the early 90s, it was clear that we weren't your stereotypical American family. After all, we were Muslims, headscarves, no pork, 5 daily prayers, and so on. Now, headscarves were never a thing in my family, but the no pork, 5 daily prayers, so on and so forth, those are. I remember the day that we found out that gummy bears have gelatin. I can't eat gelatin because that's made out of ground pig bone. And you can find now kosher gummy bears, which is great, but at the time you couldn't. And I loved my gummy bears And when I found out at the tender age of 3.5 that I could no longer eat gummy bears, man, that was a bad day for me, boys. That was a bad day for me. But yeah, and of course I used to get the question, why can't you eat gummy bears anymore? And to say, oh, it has ground up pig bones, and no one understood what that meant. But it was enough for me, and you know, anyone and any of my teachers or anything, that basically what I called it was, it amounted to an allergy, and it was a lot simpler to explain it as an allergy. Anyways, and we spoke with thick accents until grade school. I never had an accent actually, but you know, my mom and dad were had spent about, I think, about 10 years each. My dad closer to 15 and my mom closer to 10 before I was born in America. So they had time to, you know, deal with their own accents as well. So I never really had that issue. Yet, strangely enough, I cannot recall a single moment in those early years where I felt different. Yeah, I mean, I didn't feel different in a negative way. Yeah, I would have some like silly things, you know, the gummy bears, for example, or why can't I eat certain hot dogs because it's made out of pork and so on and so forth. But it was nothing major. Why do I have to take a break at certain times of the day? Prayers, so on and so forth. But like, it was nothing bad. Yes, our swim trunks could have been less goofy, and explaining what Zatar was to kids at school was a thing. But besides all that, we were just another American family in Southern California, navigating life and seeking out the coveted dream. Then 9/11 happened. This is why I'm reading this. By the way, this right here, this mirrors my own situation in many different ways. And I'm discussing which parts it mirrors. Because I think that people like Tips, and people like me, but I mean, I'm not a big streamer or anything like that, so I can understand why people don't give a shit about my comments. But someone like Tips, this is a very important perspective. And I really wish people had highlighted this more. Let's see. How many people highlighted this? 29,000 likes, which is a good amount. But considering the amount of likes, like 40, 50, 60, 100K for people wishing death upon Asmongold, I mean, it's not even close. That means this fantastic so far post has been completely drowned out by nothing but hate and the worst of Twitter humanity, if you can call Twitter humanity at all. Anyways, going back to the actual statement. Okay, for those that may have been too young to remember, September 11th was not simply a moment or a day. It was a monumental shift in thought and discourse. Completely agree. People were horrified, confused, but above all, angry. In a famous incident, popular radio host Howard Stern called for the entire Middle East to be nuked. Bomb them all. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that because my dad likes edgy, radio shows, and he heard that live. And that was the day he stopped listening to Howard Stern. It was a bad day. And his opinion was not uncommon. From school teachers to store clerks, politicians to celebrities, liberals to conservatives, one thing was on everyone's mind: we got to get them. But who was them? Surely the perpetrators and murderers who planned the attack, killing thousands of innocent people in the process and changing the landscape of modern humanity. However, to some, them had a much broader definition. I wonder if he's going to get into the media stuff. If not, I will give my context on that. Because you saw this shift in the media as well. They didn't ask what moderate Muslims thought, because it's hard to ask that question. It is messy to figure out that there are different sections of a group of people, and how, some small extremist freak of nature asshats that should never be listened to in any way, shape, or form don't actually speak to the actual large group at large. I think I said that at large twice, sorry. That's messy. No one wants to really deal with that. They want to take the path of least resistance and have more control over the populace by stating all these people are bad. All of them. And that's literally what happened to me. That's literally what happened to Tips. That is literally what happened to all of us Muslims. And that is literally what the history of Muslims in America has been for the past 23 years. I bring this up because I think it's extremely important context. Welcome Dash, welcome Switch. Hope you're having a great day. We're doing the update of the entire situation, more on a historical perspective here. Talking about like my personal situation. In this case, we're kind of mirroring tips this person's situation. He's the leader of OTK, one of the leaders, and he literally built the organization from the ground up with Asmongold himself. And Tips is a Muslim, and I thought he was an immigrant, but he's from an immigrant family as well. So it's a situation that I think is very, very poignant. Breakfast Sammy? What's in the breakfast Sammy? Sounds delicious. Give me one. Okay, get it. I hope you enjoy, my friend. I hope you enjoy. Surely dude, another thing I would hear is, why don't moderate Muslims shun the terrorists? And we had to explain time after time after time. We have been. We hate these people. You guys don't listen to us when you say this. No one's posting those videos online. No one's bringing those people onto, Fox News or CNN. I don't know if Fox News was even in existence that time. I think it was. I'm not sure. But like CNN or any of like the other broad shows at that time to like share our perspective. No one did that because, again, it's messy. And people these days don't want to deal with messy. They want to deal with simple, what they see as truths, so they can be self-righteously mad, whether it makes sense or not, to target whoever it makes sense, and a lot of times whoever it doesn't. That's exactly what happened then. But yeah, surely the perpetrators and murderers planned the attack. One of the least understood aspects of the attack was the local aftermath. True. Did you guys know? I don't know if he's going to talk about this, but the first person who was killed as a hate crime after 9/11, he wasn't even Muslim. He was a Sikh, and that's Sikh. And Sikhs are a group of people, completely different religion, completely different belief system. It's more on the side, I think, of polytheism, much closer to Hinduism, even though it is not Hinduism. It's like a completely different group of people, just sharing the same skin color as us. And that was the first hate crime of someone dying, at least documented. It could have been someone sooner than that, but that was the big documented news. And I remember this because that was the day my mom had to explain to me, if someone pulls a knife on me, what to do. And that's how I remember that day, because that was middle school. I had to learn about that in 8th grade. 8th grade. I was 13 or 14. I can't remember how old I was. I think I was like end of 13, beginning of 14. My birthday's in January. So yeah. But yeah, that's how crazy it was. Some of the least understood local aftermath, specifically experiences of Americans who could be perceived as Arab passing. Exactly. Didn't matter if you were Persian, Indian, South Asian, or even Latino. If you're a certain shade of beige and had a 3-syllable last name, or if you had a first name, middle name, or last name at the same time, or your name was Muhammad, it didn't matter. And you were called, the sand N-word. That was a very common one. It's still a very common one. If I open up my Twitch DMs right now, I don't look at them for that reason. But if I open them up right now, that is the most commonly used phrase in all of the people calling me a slur. It is still the same most used slur. I can tell you that much right now, boys. That is the same most used slur. Many religious minorities were also caught in the crossfire with Sikhs. Yep, that's what I said. Hindus, Sephardic Jews, exactly. Arab Christians, yep. And others receiving significant share of the vitriol. Acts of wanton violence became commonplace. Houses of worship were burned down. I remember there was a mosque that was burned down that one of my dad's friends went to. And the act of burning down the mosque was horrible. That sucked, obviously. But the worst part for my dad's friends was reading the local newspaper, and the opinions column was filled with people cheering. That is what broke my dad's friend's heart. And that was hard, man. That was really hard. Yeah. But people not understanding Muhammad is the most common name ever. Yeah, they still don't. Switch. They still don't. They still have no idea. Yeah, exactly. I have to explain like that type of situation anytime we're dealing with a white guy and we're dealing with like a group of like, brown people or whatever. And we're like, explaining, oh yeah, this is Muhammad something, this is Muhammad something, blah blah, and so on and so forth. And everyone, the white guy will always look confused. We have to explain it to this day. It's okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm not calling people like that racist. They just don't know. But yeah, it's very commonly placed, not understood still. That part I'm explaining. Yeah. But anyways, acts of wanted violence. Yeah, houses were worship burned down, and random people you knew from your community were being locked up, with some never heard from again. But how could this happen? How could such monumental shifts in attitude and behavior occur in the greatest country to ever exist? The same country that opened its arms wide to the tired and the poor, and not once made us feel less than any other American. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. This is extremely poignant. If you ask my mom and dad what are their proudest days in their entire lifetime, obviously my birth is up there, which is great. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. But also way up there is the day each of them, separate days because they did it years apart, became American citizens. And any immigrant from one of those countries will tell you that is one of their proudest days as well. They're proud to be Americans. I'm so proud to be an American. And it is because of what America stands for in general. Now, certain actions may lose their way and so on and so forth. We might have like some issues with what kind of things we support around the world and so on and so forth. But in general, this is absolutely, I will still say this to my dying breath, the greatest country to ever exist. 100%, beyond a shadow of a doubt. If you disagree in the comments below, I don't care. I don't care. That's your opinion. That's totally fine. You can have your opinion. But this is my opinion. As someone who knows what it's like to be from another part of the world, that is my opinion. As it is to have family still in those parts of the world, to regularly travel to other parts of the world that are much less fortunate. We are freaking lucky here. Of course, dash your vote. You can of course, and you can just type it. You don't have to ask. You can of course type it. The reason behind such a substantial shift in attitude cannot be attributed to a single moment or event. This is exactly what I'm saying. There we go. Okay, he's going to talk about it. Thank God. Tips is a very smart guy. There's a reason he was the head of OTK. There's a reason he created an entire, or one of the heads of OTK. There's a reason he created this organization from the ground up. He's a really fucking smart guy. Rather, it was accumulation of decades and decades of subtle, and not so subtle, in my opinion, media propaganda designed to produce an other, so that the powerful can continue to prey on the angry and divided powerless. It's a tale as old as time, transcending religion and geography, national lines and civilizations, a governance strategy deployed all throughout history to keep us, the people, at odds. I agree with him 100%. I agree with him 100%. Yeah, no, Dash, exactly. Yeah, and I preface this entire thing with the fact that Asmongold's comments were essentially him being pissed, and he realized this in the Asmon discussion. And maybe I didn't make that clear enough, but I'll make that clearer here. Absolutely. Asmongold's comments and vitriol was mostly very much directly directed to, I'm tired, so I'm repeating some of my words twice in the same sentence. I do apologize. Directed to the actions and the beliefs and the horrific nature of Hamas, which is a literal terrorist organization, which does horrible, heinous acts. And what he did was he generalized it to the Palestinian people. What Hassan did was humanize the Palestinian people, explaining that this is not a true governing body. And this is not people that they really had any choice in the matter of. Sure, they were technically voted in, but it was like more of like a, oh, these guys are the biggest bullies on the block, so they're the only ones who can protect us kind of thing for most of the Palestinian people, and so on and so forth. There's like a whole multitude of reasons, but it wasn't just a, oh yeah, Hamas does this, so everyone believes this kind of shit, which is where he was at, which is where Asmongold was at. And he wasn't blaming on Muslims by any means. He was literally talking about the actions of Hamas in this instance, Dash of Hope. Absolutely. And he was generalizing a little bit to some Muslims at large, talking about like other Muslim countries. Saudi Arabia, for example, was brought up in the conversation and so on and so forth. And Hassan had to explain, like, all these countries are different. All these countries have their own issues. And all these countries should be held at the lens that they're at, because you're trying to think of them as America. And you're trying to think of these people as educated Americans. And they're not. And that's the reason that despots take over on the freaking regular. There's a reason there's so many civil wars in our area, in our original part of the world. That's the reason. It's a highly uneducated place where, we have some of the smartest people in the world, and we have a lot of the uneducated masses whose minds are completely, utterly warped and easily controlled by the state-controlled media. And like it's over there, it's truly state-controlled. It's not like here where you have, you have Fox, you have NBC, you have CNN, you have ABC, you have this, you have that. You have all kinds of different news sites, and it's a free press, generally a free press. We don't have that there. So you don't have the opportunity for independent thinking a lot of times. And if you have a despot who has taken over your country and you have dissent for that despot, they just kill you. It's really hard to have that type of situation there. It's bad. It can be really bad. Now, I'm not saying every country is like that. Very dirty situation, very rough situation, just in general. And trying to give a very good, even-handed take on the situation and why there's just a lot of hate right now, and how it's just not useful. I don't find hate useful in general. I try to make it a point not to hate people. Even when they really deserve it, sometimes I don't hate them. Certain ones I do. Like, I'll just say it, Dr. Disrespect. He's someone I hate because he's someone who's inappropriate with minors. That's something I can find easy to hate. But, very much other things, even when it's directed towards me. Like, I've had so many racist things happen to me that it almost doesn't even really bother me anymore. Like, I'll ban it, of course. I don't want my community to be targeted or anything like that, so I'll just ban it. But, like, I don't look at it. And as a result, it's like kind of those out of sight, out of mind things. Because if I dwell on it, then I drive myself crazy. So I don't even hate those people. I think they're dumb. I think they're pieces of shit. I think they need to be educated. I think they may need to be slapped around a little bit by their mom because they didn't get smacked on their ass when they were being an idiot when they were a child, and a lot of times that's why they grow up to be assholes when they grow up. But I don't hate them. Hate is a strong word. You start to become numb to it. Exactly, you start to become numb to it. Ask any survivor of any type of hate. Ask any minority in America. Ask any black guy. Ask any Latino. Ask any gay person. Ask any trans person. We all have very similar experiences when it comes to becoming numb towards hate. There's a reason my community is LGBTQ. There's a reason I am. Shared human history and shared human interaction and a dislike for hate and a desire for all people to be treated equal and with love. That's all we want, man. That's all a lot of us want, of any kind of minority. Whether it's a sexual minority, whether it's a religious minority, whether it's a racial minority, whatever. That's what we all want. Like, it's wild that is so wild a take these days. Switch had a big comment. I wanted to cover it. People in the U.S. love to say they love freedom, but anytime anyone else's freedom besides the majority is not okay, hypocrisy. Because it legit is a poor cover-up for the inherent racism, sexism, and so on and so forth. Like, literally, they can just say, you're small-minded and scared that changing status quo would disenfranchise you, and you don't want to be in a position where you would be forced to do more and held accountable for your mediocrity. I think that can happen. But I think, like, for me, I mean, people would get, like, really upset about, for example, affirmative action. Now, Asians don't get affirmative action, guys. Like, at all. But And that's okay. We don't mind that. But what I'm saying is, what you're saying lends really well into the conversation about affirmative action. And it's like a very good parallel to exactly what we talk about. And Vertigo's always, you know me, my friend, you know me. I can only speculate, thought, Dash says, because words come out of his mouth as generalizing. Yeah, exactly. It is. Yeah, Dash. His big crime was that he generalized too much. I wouldn't call it a crime, but like, the big issue here was that he generalized way too much. And by the end of his conversation with Hassan, he was starting to realize that. And I have no doubt that Tips reached out to him and, as a Muslim, explained these things as well, and as his friend. And he probably realized that even more, Dash. He probably realized that even more. And exactly. And, the thing is that Asmongold is a pretty rational guy, even when he's acting irrationally. And he's acted irrationally many times. He's lost half of his teeth due to irrationalization. Eating too much shit that's bad for him, drinking too much soda, and doing it even though he knows it's destroying his teeth. That's irrational. And he happily says it. He's had a streak of being irrational. But even when he does, he has a string of logic to it. For him, the logic with his teeth is, he's lost so many, what the fuck is the point? Kind of thing. And that becomes a problem, and so on and so forth. And I have no doubt that is exactly, Dash, what you're saying is correct. That he was completely generalizing, and that was the problem. And that's what Hassan recognized too. The entire conversation was trying to get him to stop generalizing, to treat the group of people with the respect they deserve in terms of what their actual heritage is, their history is, their situation is in terms of the Palestinian people, so you can humanize them, realize what's going on, have some empathy, and figure out what the truth is. Because when you're enlightened by the situation, you realize the truth. Because the truth is extremely stark. It is a stark white against the dark. That is the way I say it. Oh yeah, Switch, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I liken the two things together for you. Yeah, exactly. The crime to the court of public opinion. Well, yeah, it depends. Like I said, it depends on who you are. Also, Vertigos. It depends on where you are. Because I brought this up earlier. Bill Maher is on national television saying worse than Asmongold did. So Asmongold said one statement that was bad, very bad, but it was one statement. Bill Maher does this on the regular, and he's on national television. If you want to see an example of pushback and how stark the rationality is against hate, watch any clip. I think there's 2 or 3 of them with Ben Affleck, who I didn't realize was so Giga Chad in this instance. But anytime he was on Bill Maher, and Bill Maher is going on some random Islamophobia fucking trash ass rant, what's his name? Ben Affleck, sorry. Ben Affleck eloquently and verbally just straight up reams him with sheer and utter logic. And it's so good because it shows the stark contrast so freaking well. But even with all of that, Bill Maher is still on national television all the time. No repercussions. People agree with him on the regular. And it's infinitely worse than what Asmongold said, and it's infinitely more regular. Asmongold said it once. Bill Maher says it all the fucking time. And like I said, worse. Hey, absolutely Switch. I mean, like I said, I don't normally cover this type of thing, but this is a special situation. So we'll cover it through the end. So we got this part, and then we got one more part after this. But yeah, I wanted to cover it through the end. But yeah, I know it's a late night, but I'm very happy to stay up for this conversation. Going back to it, of the other. It's tales old as time, transcending religion, geography, national lines, and civilizations. Yeah, this has been happening everywhere for all of humanity. When it was, You can look at any group, any singular group, and when they want to have power over another group, how they treat the other group. And you'll be like, wow, this is very similar. Yeah, it's for a reason. Exactly. The dehumanization of Africans when they came, when they were brought over as slaves. Prime example. Huge example. Dehumanization is dehumanization. And it happens all the time. So the powerful can continue to prey on the angry and divided powerless. For their, I would to add to this, for their own gain. For their own gain. But yeah, regardless, governing strategy deployed all throughout history to keep us, the people, at odds. It is the same calculated dehumanization that has led to some of the most heinous crimes and bloody massacres whose horrors we do not utter aloud. Exactly. And so many countries have done this. Japan did this to China. Koreas have done this to each other often. India's done this to Pakistan. Pakistan did this to Bangladesh. Bangladesh did this to Pakistan. Like, dude, it happens everywhere. I mean, America's not unique in this way. It's happened all the time. To many who heard Zach's comments, the language he used, whether intended or not, reeked of the same dehumanization that plagued their ancestors, their grandparents, and in some cases, even their families today. It is the same language used to justify wanton violence, genocide, and the destruction of our universal brotherhood. Exactly. That was the big issue. Exactly. Dehumanization. Generalization to the point of dehumanization. It is the same language used to brush off a video of a Palestinian woman and child burning alive as, quote-unquote, the price of war. I'm not writing this post to defend the dignity of the Palestinians suffering in Gaza. Dignity does not require defense. It is a right. Based, actually. To those who have supported the humanitarian efforts and self-determination of the Palestinian people and all the oppressed around the globe, thank you. To those brave enough to look beyond their own anger and reach out to their Jewish friends and neighbors, thank you. These are trying times that will test us all. And I think it's very, I don't know if he's implying it from the other way around, but I think it's very clear to say the other way around as well. I mean, you know, I had after my video yesterday, 2 people reach out to me in DMs. They're Jewish and they have family in Israel. And they said that I spoke eloquently, and they said that I was very kind, and that they understood my history and my having family and friends on both sides of this horrific situation. And it was just very kind. And I think when you are honest about things like I was and am, and when you're coming from a place of kindness and wanting to reveal darker things in the scope of educating and wanting to create good things happen. And what I'm stating, this situation is a prime example, an absolute prime example. Time to edit? Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. But that's okay. I don't mind that. You can also see if he edited, but he didn't edit. Zach's comments may have been the impetus for this post, but if there's one thing I hope to convey in my incoherence, it is this. I desperately plead to all those reading to wake up to the forces around you that wish nothing more than to separate you from your fellow man and conquer your hearts, your minds, and humanity. I'll add to this. I think this is directly towards the people that have been spewing literal like death wishes towards Asmongold. I think the people who are doing that need to read this more than anything. If you're watching this video and one of those people, please read this again. Please, okay? Those that wish for you to look upon your school teachers, store clerks, and neighbors as a them, for they are not a them. They are a you, born to different circumstances, no doubt, but they are you nonetheless. Open your skin and take a look at yourself. We all bleed the same blood, we share the same dreams, and will one day rot in the same earth until our bones have long become dust and the difference in our beings will be no thicker than air. This is beautifully written, by the way. I didn't know Tips was so eloquent. I don't really know too much about Tips beyond like his history, because he was like always like an inspiration for me. You know, streamer, fellow Muslim, family of immigrants, you know, pretty fucking cool guy, right? Like, I never really watched his content. I never really watched content when he was a streamer. So, never really got the chance to. Regardless, though. Impressed. Please, for the love of God, for the love of all that is holy and good, look out for yourselves and those around you. If you ever feel the urge and anger to reduce your fellow man to anything less than yourself, ask aloud, who benefits? This really lends into my previous conversation about when I was talking about anger. And I was talking about righteous anger and who to direct the anger at. And I was saying, sure, you can dislike what Asmongold said. You can wish for him to have a ban. Sure. But don't hate him. Hate the people that have caused this. Hate Boeing. Hate Northrop Grumman. Hate those people that literally profit from selling arms on both sides to create conflicts around the world. Those are the people that really deserve your ire. Like, that's more of what is, who benefits. That is exactly what I mean here. That is exactly what I mean here. Oh my God, that is exactly what I mean here. Regardless, going on. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Look, Tips is a big guy. He probably couldn't say those things. I don't know if he knows those things, but I'll tell you, those are the things. Thank you for taking the time to read this. I'll be spending most of my upcoming time working behind the scenes to ensure our staff and teams are all right. NoTKs continues to grow into the place I know can be. In the meantime, peace. Yeah, exactly. This is extremely, extremely well said. And almost brings tear to my eyes. Like, you know, it's something that I know and have gone through myself extremely, extremely well. And it's crazy. It's crazy. There's a lot of hate being thrown around on all sides. And I think it's a very sad day. I think it's a very sad day when something like this happens. And it's a very sad day when all that you see in response to someone getting banned is a wish for them to have much worse things happen to them. Guys, be happy with the ban. And be happy that Asmongold is deep down decent enough to admit he was wrong, which most people don't do, not double down, which most people do these days, and also to take the ban like a man, not try to, skirt around it, not try to release a statement, oh, he's going to stream on YouTube for the next 14 days. None of that shit, which other people do. He's not going to kick. None of that crap. And understand that he's growing. He's learning. And in the past 24 hours, he's learning from far better teachers than the hateful people could ever hope to be. He learned in that 3-hour conversation from Asmon. In the past 24 hours, he learned from Tips Out. And I'm sure he learned a lot from a lot of other people. And I can tell you one thing. He didn't learn a single goddamn thing from someone wishing hate upon him. Someone like that will only... anyone in general will only learn when you come at them with facts, with love, with understanding and empathy. Trying to explain to them, trying to teach them, trying to humanize. Those things are stronger than the worst filthy hate can ever be. No matter how self-righteous you think you are in your hate, it is still weaker than love. Anyways, that's a little bit of a weird diatribe from me. I hope you guys understood what I was trying to come across with here. I just wanted to talk about the ban. Is the ban justified? Like I said, I wouldn't have banned him. If I was Twitch, if I was the Universal Twitch, I wouldn't have banned him. I would have, I would have elevated the conversation with Hassan and Asmongold to the front page. That's what I would have done. I would have shown that 3 hours. And I've only seen pieces and bits of it. Significant bits. I think I've watched probably an hour total of it out of 3. But I think that was like some of the most educational shit that I've seen in this entire situation for a long time. And it was extremely, extremely enlightening, not only to us, the audience, but also to Asmongold himself. And I think that was a better education than anything else could have been. And besides, obviously this conversation with Tips Out or any of the other multitude of people that probably reached out to him. Because guys, I know Muslims. I am one. And we're a people of peace, love, and understanding. And there's no doubt in my mind that my anecdotal evidence of, looking at Asmongold's quote retweets, scrolling all the way down and finding very few Muslims wishing, God forbid, something really bad to happen to Asmongold. There was very few of them. There's a reason for that. Because we don't wish that. We wish understanding. We wish him to be a better person. Some people may wish him to be banned. But they only wish it so he can learn from it and become better because they know he can be. And they hope for it. So do I, and so should you. That's all I can say. And, but yeah, I don't think he deserves it. But, I can understand why Twitch did it. They're well within their rights to do so. I understand the decision, and part of me agrees with it. And I just, I'm glad it's not a permaban. I think that would have been ridiculous. And also, Twitch should review their enforcement of their TOS to all of the other people that spout and do hateful things, including, in this case, Hassan himself, literally interviewing a terrorist, glorifying terrorism. That's really fucking bad too. And Hassan should have had a temporary ban for that. Maybe not even 14 days, maybe just like a 5-day ban or something. But something. It should have been treated with the same veracity and the same seriousness that this was. And that's just an example. You can find countless examples. If you have another example of someone acting like a racist piece of dealing with hate, dealing with dehumanization, and so on and so forth, leave it in the comments below. And I will agree with you. Absolutely. Anyone who does something like this is dehumanizing. It should be treated in the same way. I just want some equality in it. That's all. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I try to give a very even-hand take, just like I did yesterday. My position has not changed at all. In fact, the amount of hate I've gotten from both sides from it just shows me how fucking right I am. And I'll say it twice over. I'm right. If you look at the comments in that video, you'll see people who think that Asmongold deserves to be put on fire. God forbid. Those people are wrong. You'll see a bunch of people also that agreed with his original statement that he's now changed and disagrees with himself. They'll say, oh, Asmongold said what I believe 100%. Shit like that. And those people are obviously hella wrong too. And the fact that there's such hate on both sides shows you that the truth is always somewhere in the middle. So please take that food for thought. Please learn from this conversation. Please learn from the situation, because genuinely, I think this is a pretty good turning point for my small corner of the internet. I can't change the world, but I can change my world. I can change this Twitch world just a little bit, add my voice to the lexicon, talk about my experiences, and try to create a little bit of good in the world. In our part of the world, in our part of the gaming world, in our part of the gaming landscape, in our part of the Twitch. Because I care about this place. Just like I care about America, just like I care about my home, just like I care about my parents' country of Pakistan. I care about all of these places, and I want to see them all grow, and I want to see them all become flourishing, beautiful places without any fucking hatred. And I think we're capable of it, guys. But it has to be only done if people like you who are watching this video understand that. Thank you for your time, and let me know what you guys think in the comment below. Please keep it respectful, regardless of what side of the aisle you fall upon. If you come at me with disagreement, but is respectful, I'll respond in kind. Always. I never mind dissent. I only mind hate and disrespect. There we go. Let me know what you guys think. Give this video a like and a sub. Share it with your friends. And if you guys do think it's important, if you guys do think this is a good take, do share it with your friends. I think it's important to elevate good voices so we can start to drown out the hate on both sides, because there's way too much of that. And if you look at social media feeds into it. Like I was talking about yesterday, the algorithm of social media is if you interact with a comment that you hate or a post that you dislike and you talk about how it's dog water or whatever, it'll only give you more of that. Anyways, Header Chrome, let me do that. Yeah, I personally don't think it's a sign of violence. He's just being stupid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's no... Asmongold didn't incite violence. Yeah, absolutely. So anyone who's saying incited violence is completely incorrect. He did not incite violence. He was generalizing. He was excusing violence, but he wasn't inciting it. He didn't say, go over here and do something horrible. No, nothing of that sort. Absolutely. Hey, thank you, Cryptid. Walaikum assalam, man. Hell, there you go, buddy. Hell yeah, cheers, man. Water. Cheers to water. Exactly, dude. I think Asmongold saying something is way more impactful than the average creator. Exactly. I think the ban was justified because he did violate TOS. I completely am fine with that. They would just enforce it. They should just enforce it unilaterally. Exactly. Yep, Saran, we are basically on the complete same page. The only difference between us is if I was Twitch, I wouldn't have done the ban. Though I do understand and condone it, if that makes sense. Like, I understand it, and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense for Twitch to do it. I wouldn't have done it personally, but the fact that Twitch did it, I get it. And you know what the thing is? I think he does too. I genuinely think he does too. His statement of his apology, the written one, I know there's a video, we're going to cover that next, but his statement apology, I think he understands it. I really do. He's not someone that's shirked away from responsibility like that before, so I wouldn't expect him to do so now. Heterochrome said, even if there's bad teaching, I think Asmon doesn't realize how people don't always follow teachings to the letter. Yeah, that's true as well. How can they? Most people don't even read the entire scripture before professing their stuff. Yeah, exactly. Even anti-Islam like Douglas Murray or Sam Harris acknowledge that not all Muslims are bad. Yeah, but they're still pretty bad about what they do say, Heterochrome. I will say that. Like, I think both of those people are prime examples of the sheer generalization to the point that it's done to cause hate and to continue the conversation of, you know, remember the who benefits? Who benefits? It's always important to ask when someone's writing something, when someone's creating something, who benefits? Not all Palestinians or even Muslims. Exactly. There's a lot of Christian Palestinians. Absolutely. There's also laws being enacted to say very little about whether or not civilians endorse them. He should know, especially being an American, with how polarized Americans are with their laws. Yeah, and I think this is why he was, treating the conversation at the end of the conversation with Hassan much better. Because he was realizing the fallacies in his own logical arguments, because they didn't come from a place of logic, and they came from a place of being misguided and uneducated on the subject. And so when Hassan was explaining things like how things are in that part of the world, who these people are, what strife they've gone through, how the people, not Hamas, but the actual people of Palestine treat gays and treat trans as in well. They don't treat them badly. They don't hurt them. Those types of things, that education, turned Asmongold's mind far more than people realize. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. And I think that's what made him realize, because like Asmongold's talked about, like, he covers politics a lot. He's covered Republicans versus Democrats. He's covered this. He's covered that. And like, I only really pay attention to gaming news. But like, he's covered all of the other stuff that I don't bother covering, and I don't want to. I don't like that shit in my ear. But he's used to the polarization, and he's talked about polarization on social media, and he's talked about hate on social media. I think what happened is he didn't realize he was falling into that trap himself. And I think that's the most fascinating part. I think the 2-week ban was honestly just a PR stunt on Twitch's part due to the nature of his comment. Yeah, exactly, Saran. It's like when remember the gambling situation with the Yo King, the guy who basically scammed, I can't remember his name, but you guys probably know what I'm talking about if you were on Twitch like 2 years ago. And how that guy was addicted to, a gambling website, called stake.com, and basically farmed and cheated and gaslit and abused verbally and mentally and stuff entire swaths of people, from large content creators like Ludwig and so on and so forth, all the way down to his like own smallest community members, like one of his mods. I can't remember his name it's some asshole dude. He's a brown guy, short hair. I can describe him. I can't remember his exact name. So one of you guys might know who I'm talking about. But he used to say yo king all the time, that entire situation, Saran, got Stake Gambling banned off of Twitch. But it didn't get all gambling banned off of Twitch. There was a giant outcry about it, and Twitch had no choice but to respond within a couple of weeks, and as a result, got Stake Gambling off of Twitch. And they did it by they basically had a universal ban for companies that are gambling companies that are specifically slot gambling companies and not based in the US. And they were able to say oh, it's because of the laws in the US, blah, blah, blah. And they were able to use some excuse because they didn't want to do the entire thing. That was an example of Twitch doing something halfway just to appease the very, very loud masses, of whom I was one of, because I hate gambling of all kinds. I think it all sucks. I think it's one of the worst vices. I think it's nothing but predatory shit. And I don't even like loot boxes, personally. Anyways, but to that end, you look on the Twitch website right now, we still have gambling. We still have slots. And we still very much have, in a massive way, sports betting, which has only exploded even more. So it was a bit performative, I think, is what you're looking for, Saran. And I agree with you. Yeah, the 2-week ban for Asmongold, I think, was performative. Absolutely. Absolutely. Twitch does this on the regular. If someone's being extremely loud about breaking a rule, or has done so in a very, very public way, they're more likely to ban that than they are to ban the more egregious offender who is a much smaller offender. Exactly. Yeah, and yeah, exactly, Saran. That entire debacle that I'm describing with the gambling led to Kick's creation, because Stake took that ban and they decided to make their own website. Yeah, exactly that. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and if you want, I will be covering in the next video Asmongold's, I think it's like a 30-minute, 20-minute statement. We'll be covering that right now, so make sure to hop on over. But I think this is a good encased video, so I wanted to cover this actual ban and my thoughts even before I see the 20-minute video or whatever it was. And we'll discuss that in the next video. So keep your eyes peeled. I'll have these up as soon as I possibly can, because I would like to continue putting my voice in conversation. I was only planning on making one video until I saw the massive amount of backlash I got from hateful people on both sides. And then I was like, okay, no, I'll cover this till the end. Fuck them. That's why I'm making the next videos. So yeah, you got them to thank, guys. If you're one of the people that hate me for saying either side, if you're someone who thinks Asmongold should be put in the a chimney and lit on fire, God forbid, or if you think that his original comments were right and that all Muslims are bad people, guess what, guys? I'm only covering these next parts because of you. Congratulations. You did the opposite of what you set out to do. Anytime you try to transfer hate onto someone, we'll respond with love, empathy, and trying to create good. Suck my dick. There you go.